So, this is Lindsay with Find Fearless Coaching, and this is episode 9 of a Fearless Life interview series. And I am so excited to announce my guest this evening. Her name is Jaimie Kazuk. I know Jaimie, she's also a fellow health and life coach. So, I know her from the Clarity Catalyst program, which was run by Jennifer Grace, my last guest. We met there. She also went through the same health and life coaching program Jaimie did as I did. So we're both health and life coaches. She's a mother of 2 gorgeous children. They're absolutely beautiful. And also, she is a client and a great friend of mine. So Jaimie and I have been working together for nearly a year now and going down the Find Your Fearless Life program path. And we'll ask her a few questions about that or about that later. But first off, tonight we're going to discuss this concept of self-development and really what self-development is, but how unique it is to the individual. And really want to dive into Jaimie's path through self-development, and she's become a bit of an expert on it. So let's first say hello to Jaimie. Hi, gorgeous. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm awesome. All right. So first off, tell me, what does self-development really mean to you and in your life personally?
Well, I've taken a little bit of time to think about this one because it's actually it's a very, could be a very wide range kind of a question, but it's different for everybody. But self-development for me is the awareness and the acknowledgement and the acceptance of where you are in a particular point in your soul's journey. That's what self-development means to me. And it came to me, actually in my dreams, actually at night, because I was thinking about it, and it just like clicked with me, and I was like, yep, that makes sense to me. That's what it means to me.
Amazing. So when you say awareness and all of kind of the adjectives you use to describe self-development, can you elaborate on those a little bit more?
Yeah. So as I have embarked on this personal journey of mine, um my awareness was actually one of the first strengths that I really do believe that the awareness piece of it has become one of my strongest strengths. And when I'm aware of what I'm feeling and where I am in a particular moment in time, it's so much easier to acknowledge that, you know, and accept where you are, whether you like it or not.
Mhm.
It's just, you become aware, you acknowledge, and say, I acknowledge that I'm here. I don't like you, or I don't like this place,
Yeah.
but I accept where I am because this is where I'm meant to be.
Mm.
So the awareness for me has just become a very strong part of who I have become, because I can feel it like physically within my body. It's not just, okay, I'm aware, externally. I feel it internally.
And so, in regards to self-awareness, like, what has changed in your life since you've become more self-aware? And we can dig into this a little further later, just with self-development in general. But I would agree with you, self-awareness is such a massive part of the self-growth and development journey. And I think it all begins with awareness, because if we don't have self-awareness, what do we have, right? We can't change anything. We can't grow. We can't really develop if we aren't first already aware with where we're at currently. So once you started becoming self-aware and going down that path, what noticeable differences did you see occur in your life?
Mm. Um, I saw a lot. externally, I saw certain relationships fall apart.
Mhm.
Um, and I started looking at, people that I had always surrounded myself with. I started to look at them differently. And then internally, I started to feel differently. So there were certain people that I would be around that I became a little bit more uncomfortable with, or certain people that I was like, I just really like you. I just love your energy. And I started to use different kind of vocabulary. I started to get more interested in more of the spiritual world. That has become a very, very big, important part of my personal journey so far. Is opening my eyes to not only what I can see with my eyes and I can touch with my hands, but also what I can't see and what I can't touch. That has become very important to me. And within that and learning that, so much has opened up for me. So it's not always easy, you know,
Yeah.
and it has its challenges for sure. But I wouldn't trade it for anything because it was meant to be.
Okay, amazing. So it was meant to be. I wanna tug on that a little bit, but I think that really kind of dials in the next question and is a great segue of, what inspired you or pushed you to begin this journey? Was there a specific incident that occurred in your life that really inspired, okay, here's the path, like, or was it a choice? Was it more forced? I'm just curious, was there a moment or was it just a gradual movement towards an interest in self-growth and development?
Um, looking back on it, I think it was something that I gradually got into, but I think it's because certain things have happened, in my life. When I think of the past, 20 years, really the past 10 years is when my personal self journey has really began. And prior to that, I was always kind of a more codependent kind of person, don't
Mm.
rock the boat kind of person. So I just kind of like la da 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 through life and just kind of went through all the trials and tribulations and all that stuff. Um, when I got into my early 20s, and that's where things started to happen within my personal life, and then also that's where my personal growth spiritual journey began. Um, and through there, through those times is when my life started to mold differently than how I thought it would be. And that's where a lot of the changes um, started to occur, and certain relationships, you know, came to bloom, and some started to die off. So I would say about my early 20s is when I started to become aware that something is happening, something happening within me, and I'm starting to look at things very differently. Um, and from there, it's just increased within the past. I would say probably the past 3 years um, is when it's really like just blew right up.
So
um,
what was like what was there a moment like when that kicked off? I mean, were you going through some hard times? I mean, what was your life like 3 years ago, I guess?
yeah, so I was married young, and was I married the first person that I dated. So always had been in a relationship. I always had somebody else. When I became a mom, um, is is when I started to. I did have postpartum, and you know, I'm very proud, to be a person that is vocal about, something like that. That's, people that will tend to kind of not talk about so much, but I did have postpartum and I didn't believe that I had it. So my whole moods were very different. My anxieties were up
Mm.
and I lost myself. I didn't know what it was to have self love. It was kind of a foreign concept in a sense to me because I had never practiced that really before. I so I became a mother, which is great. Um, and then as the years went on, I started to feel like there was something more, like just there was something missing. And the like my relationship within my marriage started to crumble and I lost myself, but I didn't even really know who I was at that point. So, essentially, 3 years ago is when my marriage dissolved. So I became, for the first time in my life, I was a single parent. I had two kids, and which those are the biggest blessings, really. Like I'm very, happy for the challenges that I've gone in my life. I'm very proud to, you know, um, acknowledge and just be blessed to, to be aware that how I feel and, to just what I went through of separating and all the emotions and the ups and the downs and the days that you just want to hit your head against the wall and just, some very bad days, but I'm very grateful for those days too because I know that there was lessons in there, you know, that I needed to learn. And that was very difficult. A lot of self-sabotaging.
Ooh, okay. Lessons and self-sabotage. I want to talk about both of those. So, me personally, also on this journey and this path of self-growth and development, lessons always seem to be a word that comes up more often than not. And I kind of see lessons as like if we don't choose to learn something from what we're going through, then it can really kind of take us down in the dumps. But if we choose to see a lesson in it, it's like we can evolve and grow and learn from it. So I'm just curious, what's your take on lessons, and are they important for your self-development, your self-growth?
I embrace them. And it hasn't been too long that I've started doing this. It's probably just actually within this year. I was just like, the universe would show me a challenge, and I was like, oh no. But now I'm just like, okay, I know you have something in here for me to learn. So I embrace it, and it it doesn't feel as scary anymore. And I have come to realize that life is just one big lesson. It's like lesson after lesson. Every day there's something new to learn and something new to see. And, I try to embrace them, and every day is different. Some days I'm good at doing it, and other days I suck at doing it, but that's what the human journey is all about, and that's the fun part of it. And that's what I've also trying to learn, to embrace is, bring on the lessons. Yeah, I'm not always ready for you, but I acknowledge and I accept you, and I'll just take this, step by step.
Mhm.
And I yeah, life is just one big lesson. And, you know,
Okay, let's also talk about the self-sabotage
ooh,
aspect of this. Okay, so as we, lessons are a good segue into that because it's like, okay, all these lessons come up if we choose to see it that way, right? And we talk a lot about fear, or I talk a lot about fear. We talk about fear sometimes. And I
yeah.
think self-sabotage can be a direct result sometimes of fear. So, can you give me an example of where self sabotage has kind of come up during your journey and how it's affected you then, maybe before, 3 years ago or 10 years ago, and how, fear affects you now? Because I guess self sabotage is a direct result of fear. So that's what I'm trying to get at.
Um, my biggest self sabotage, um, not so much, not now, but it was when my separation became new and fresh, was alcohol. Um, and I know that I'm not the only person. And I, you know, numbed myself. That's what us humans are can be good to do, is because we don't want to feel the emotion. So we're like, we're gonna numb you until we're ready to feel that. I was one of the fortunate people that always had, like, I had the awareness, more so now than then, but I had the awareness, and I knew that if I wasn't going to stop myself, I knew how bad it could get. We see people with addictions all the time. Um, and so I was aware of what I was doing. I just wasn't ready to deal with the emotions of it. So I numbed myself out, for a bit, and sometimes it was bad, you know. And I'm not proud of it, but it was part of my journey. And that is what I've accepted, is that is how I dealt with my emotions and what I was going through, because that's how I was meant to deal with it. I believe that if I wasn't meant to deal with it in that way, it would have never presented itself. Something else would have presented itself, whether it was drugs or this or that. So that was my self sabotage. Um, and I got myself out of that. And I know that that's not a road that I want to go down, that I continued to go down. And I've had a lot of support. And 10 years ago, my self sabotage would be non self love. It would be catering to everybody else. It would be, I guess, yeah, in a sense, maybe some alcohol then as well. Um, Not taking care of my body, body, mind, and spirit. Um, so the sabotage 10 years ago, when I first had gotten married at a younger age and became a parent, was just forget you Jaimie, and just focus on everybody else. And you'll just kind of pick up the pieces, whatever energy you can find throughout, at the end of the night. And then going through the separation was the alcohol and stuff like that. But I am very thankful, um, to not be in that boat that I was then. And that's where coaching came into place. Came in and rated when it needed to.
Awesome. So, what made you, well, first of all, yeah, let's go there. What made you seek out the journey to become a coach?
It's always been something that I always wanted to do. I'm a very curious person. So my curiosity, as I became older and wiser, just became bigger and bigger. I love talking to people. I love hearing people's stories and hearing their, their highs and their lows, and being that support for somebody. I've always loved that. I never took that direction out of high school and into university, probably like I should have, because I wasn't in that self-love mind frame. Do what you love instead of do what others think you should do. I was in that mind frame. So kind of blew it off for a while, and did the family thing and stuff. And it was after my son was born, when I was on maternity leave, that I was like, I really like life coaching. I love it. I don't know very much about it, but I just love the idea of helping somebody and growing with them and supporting them, because honestly, that's what I needed at my time. I didn't recognize it then, but I do now. Is I wanted to be that life coach, because that's what I needed, because I saw, when I look back now, I saw the red flags that I was giving out, but I wasn't quite aware. And the people that, I surrounded with, myself with, probably were not aware either. So I was putting out these red flags, like somebody to support and somebody to talk to, and non-judgmental, and, to help me grow as a person. Um, so yeah, it was about 3 years ago. And then I was, I think it was last year. Um, I guess my cry out for help and going through my separation, or was it 2 years ago? I don't even remember. Last year. um, I was just looking one day, and it came to my mind, and then, I started looking it up, and it just like boom, boom, boom. And within a couple weeks, I was enrolled into HCI to be a life coach. So it came into my life at the most perfect moment, because I was in that self-sabotage mind frame.
Okay, I love that. So, how has coaching changed your life, and how can coaching affect other people? How can it change their lives? How can it support them? What has it done for you, and what can potentially it do for others?
Well, when I this is like real emotion, because I am so grateful. I'm like, I'm just so grateful, because it came into my life at such a difficult time, where I thought, I thought getting married and having kids, that was it, you have and it's amazing how life can just do a 360 just like that. And it just creeps in slowly, or it just goes so fast, and it just slowly starts creeping in. And you know um it came in. The universe, I guess, heard my please help me. And by me, working with life coaches yourself, and then I also had another life coach before I started working with you, um, helped me immensely. I don't think I would even have oh, this is just so emotional, but this is real. Like, it really does provide a support system like no other. You could go to therapists, and you can go to counselors, you could talk to your friends, but when you have somebody that will be with you on your journey and supporting you and kicking your butt and saying, you know, giving you little steps every week so you can start working towards where you want to be in however many months or weeks. It's like nothing else I've ever experienced. And that's coming from, you know, my place, because I was somebody that needed support. It was, you know, I was I was like rock bottom. And I not only felt like I hit rock bottom once, I felt like I hit it a couple times. And, you know, I don't think I would be where I am today if I did not have the support that I had and still do have from you and from, you know, my other coach, and also going through the whole life coaching program itself for myself. So I became my own personal life coach for me. I became a life coach for me, first and foremost, because that is what I needed and desired and became so passionate about. And when I decided to stop myself in tracks that were very unhealthy, that's where my whole life changed.
Girl, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for the emotion. I mean, it's beautiful, you know, just to experience that emotion with you. And being on this journey with you has been such a gift for me. So I'm so grateful for you. Um, okay, so just to wrap it all up, because we're about at 30 minutes, that last and final question, I always like to ask this one, just because I'm so much about the fearless concept. And when I say fearless, I don't mean we eliminate all of our fears from our life. Fearless means making courageous or acts of courage every day, you know, ordinary acts of courage, ordinary acts of bravery. It's about facing our fears day in and day out, recognizing our self-sabotaging moments, and stepping towards fear rather than running away from it. So I don't know if we ever become fearless, but we're always seeking fearless, finding fearless, find fearless. So that said, in regards to a fearless life or a finding fearless, find your fearless life, what does a fearless life look like for you?
You know, ever since looking fear more in the eye and what scares me, I've learned to embrace it, and it's not as scary when, you know, you can look at it and be like, hey, right now you're scaring the crap out of me, um, you know, but I have become a strong, courageous person, and I don't always have all my stuff together, but I'm gonna, you know, take that energy that fear is creating, and I'm going to use that and flip it into a positive and use that energy to push me forward and just go as slowly as I need to, or and you know, just to like feel the feelings and feel the emotions without just blowing them off and pushing them aside, because that's, you know, what we're a lot of humans and people are good at doing, is suppressing it, you know, just like self-sabotage, suppress it and pretend it doesn't exist. And guess what? It keeps popping up. It'll pop up at all different times in your life. So now I try to look at it in the eye, acknowledge it that it's, you know, whatever it is, gross or whatever, and take that energy and use that and walk towards it, go through it, breathe, and talk myself into, be like, you got this, you're doing good. And you know, just the self-talk. And by the time you open your eyes and you look around, it's like, oh, I'm wow, I made it through. And then you just look at it and be like, that's right. Just become more bold, and it feels really great. It really does. But you you have to go through that gross, disgusting, uncomfortable stuff to get to where you want your life to be. And it's, you know, like it's got its challenges, and it's not fun, and it might go on for a couple days or weeks or months. It's just not fun, but you just got to keep going through it. Just go through it. Find your support team. Get yourself a coach. Get somebody that you can hold your hand and be like, don't let go of me. And somebody say, I gotcha. And that's exactly what you have become to me, Lindsay. I adore you so much.
I adore you. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. And oh my gosh, it's just amazing and so insightful. And even the emotion was just so beautiful. I mean, how powerful just to hear about your journey and your experience, girl. And
I've learned to embrace my emotion. I'm an emotional, sensitive person, so I've learned to embrace it. And you know, it's real. It's who I am, and I can control it sometimes, but sometimes when it's that real, I can't, and it's like, all right, just let her go.
yeah, and I mean, what a more beautiful thing to feel emotional over other than gratitude. You know, as you were feeling that emotion, you're like, I'm just so grateful. And that sends a powerful message out of bring me more of what I'm grateful for. So.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for all the challenges, obstacles. I'm grateful for them because, you know, I am who I am because of these little moments and these little bumps and everything. I am who I am, and I I love me. I think I'm a pretty great, awesome person, and I really am starting to adore myself more than I ever thought I could.
And that's the incredible part is, you know, you started this self-development journey, self-growth journey. And I heard you mention self-love quite a few times. Like there was a lack there of it, right?
Oh yeah.
And now you're sitting here saying, I love myself. I adore who I am. I mean, if not for anything else, all of the challenges and the roller coaster of the self-growth journey, which I can say can be quite roller coaster-esque sometimes with the highs and lows, that alone makes it worth it. So
Yeah.
for self-love.
Yeah. Yeah. And just hold on and just embrace everything, you know?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day and at the end of life, it's all gone, you know? So just embrace it, you know? Feel it, acknowledge it, become aware of it, and just go through it.
Grip it and rip it. That's what I'm gonna end on. Grip it and rip it.
I like it.
I like it. All right, girl. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so grateful that we're here and doing this. So thank you for being my guest. And yeah, thanks y'all for showing up. Have a good night.
Thank you, Lindsay. Mwah.
Mwah.